Alright, so now we're actually going to screen print. So we've got our screen and we've got a t-shirt here. Sweet. Now inside the t-shirt, you can probably hear it rustling a little bit, we've put some paper. This is to make sure that the design doesn't sort of leak onto the back of the t-shirt. So that's just going to provide a bit of a barrier. Also, we're printing onto this kind of plasticky stuff here, which just means that the tables won't get all gross. But you can just use newspaper or whatever at home. You want to keep the fabric nice and flat and making sure that the surface that you're printing onto is quite solid. If it's spongy, then you'll find that you won't get very good designs. I'm also going to print a couple of test runs onto paper, just to make sure that the screen works okay and everything like that. The fabric ink that I'm using is just Permaset, and this is just a black because that's what the person that wants this design made just wants black. Got a little palette thing to scoop the ink out and just a little plastic plate. You can pretty much use whatever you like to print that. And we've got a squeegee, and this squeegee is just the right size to fit inside this mesh. So I'll just grab some paper and then we'll do a couple of test runs. So I've just got a piece of, this is just a little bit of cartridge paper out of an art book, and we'll pop our screen down on there. It doesn't really matter about lining it up too much because it's just a test run. Got some ink out of the pot, slide it straight onto the squeegee. Try and get it nice and even because this is a design that goes all the way across the mesh, so you need to have the ink all the way along. That's probably too much, so just take a little bit off. But that's pretty good. Maybe just a bit more at the end. And just try and do it in nice, one easy motion. Rest that on there. So if we peel that back up, you should see the design. So that's it there. Seems like I probably didn't quite make it come to the edge of the design, so we've missed a bit of the bump and the lump, but that's okay. You can probably see, if I show you up close, there's quite a few dots. This is a relic of the photocopying. Because the image was photocopied a bunch of times, you get a little bit of artifacts. That's just going to be part of the design. There's not really anything we can do about that at this stage. So I'm going to do another test run on the piece of paper that I've got. Just make sure that I've got it looking okay. There are sort of, what do they call them? It's a kind of mistake correction fluid that you can dot them out. I don't actually have any, but that would be a way of resolving this spotty issue. But as I said, I don't actually have any here, so I can't do that. So making sure that it comes all the way to the end. And there's the design. So that's going to be on a t-shirt. It's a really funny picture of some llamas. Alright, so we'll just leave that to dry over there. And we're ready to go on the t-shirt. So again, just smoothing it out. Making sure that it's basically where we want it to be, which is sort of more towards the top of the t-shirt. I might even actually turn that around because to get the motion of the squeegee sort of in this direction, it's easier to work that way than sort of going across like that. So sort of got to think about how you're doing things a little bit. And making sure that it looks nice and flat and it's all lined up and not crooked. And we can have a go. Now I can see that the top of this llama's head didn't quite make it through, so. Alright. Now it's important when you're doing this to just sort of pull it up a little bit without fully removing it from the fabric, and then you can see if you've missed anything. That looks pretty good to me, but I'm just going to make one more pass with this squeegee. Actually, no, I won't, because I think that's going to be good enough. So our design is now on our t-shirt. And there you go, that's the start to finish process of using the Gocco machine to make screen prints. So I just want to show you another type of screen printing. This is using the mesh style. This is an old school style that you probably would have seen in high school or primary school or something. So this design is just done on paper and it's been cut out using a very sharp knife. And then it's been taped onto the mesh with some masking tape, and we've just added a couple of bits of extra around the outside to sort of make sure that we don't get any extra ink on our design space. so t-shirt or paper or whatever it's being printed onto. So the piece of paper is stuck to the outside of the mesh, and then we're going to put the ink and squeegee on there. So this part here, you can see that it's sort of floppy, but as I was explaining to the person who has this design just a minute ago, once you do one pass with the ink, these pieces of paper will actually stick to the mesh anyway, so you won't have to worry about them being floppy. But we're just going to do a test run and see how it goes. So we're just going to put it onto a piece of scrap paper and just lay it down nice and firm. And again, I'll just use a bit of black. Same process as before, just putting a little bit of ink onto our squeegee. Fairly simple. And sort of holding it down, and we'll just run the squeegee over. And this one is slightly larger than before, so we'll have to do a couple of passes to make sure that it fits the design onto the paper. And that looks pretty good. And we can just peel this back up. The paper is going to be stuck to it, but that's okay. And there's the design. It's a little bit bleedy, but that's probably because I wasn't able to hold the mesh down. So when we come to do this for real, we'll probably get a couple of people on either side of the mesh to sort of hold it down onto the table. And as you can see, as I said before, the mesh is now sticking to the piece of paper, so it's not going to move around, or the bleedy things won't be a problem. So yeah, that's just screen printing using the large scale meshes.